Hello class. Today we are going to begin with a new topic today for your English language, and today's topic is sequence of tenses. As you can see here, sequence of tenses, that what we are going to deal today, and in this we have or we are going to see six important rules um, for us to keep in mind while we are doing these exercises. Okay. Now, while writing sentences, we must keep in mind the sequence of tenses. What does sequence of tenses means? Like, tenses has to be, every sentence or even what we say or write, there has to be a sequence, certain sequence. Without sequence, it is very difficult to understand for the other person what he or she is trying to say. So for everything, even what you do, even what you work, so even what you write, you speak, there has to be certain sequence. So here we are going to deal with sequence of tenses. Okay. This is a principle according to which the tense of the verb in the subordinate clause follows the tense of the verb in the principal clause as per the following rules. Now this, as according to the rules, 6 rules that we have in this chapter to deal with. So according to the rule, we are going to see principal clause and subordinate clause, how they connect, or how do they according to each other, how do they reciprocate or like go together in a sentence, to frame a sentence or to frame a sequence of a tense in a sentence. Okay. Now before that, what is principal clauses? Principal clause is also known as a main clause, the important one, the head one. Okay, head, principal clause. Just the opposite, subordinate clause is the junior clause. Okay, so head clause, main clause, principal clause, subordinate clause, a junior clause. Okay, a smaller clause. So here in this we are going to see in this principal subordinate, how do they coordinate, okay, in this topic, sequence of tense and its following 6 rules. Okay, so the first rule number 1, here we are going to see that if the verb in the verb means action in the principal clause is in the past tense, okay, if it's in the past tense, the verb in the subordinate clause will also be in past tense. Okay, just like the example that is given here, he had left. Left is in your past tense, okay, in a past form, left. So the subordinate clause, now this is one sentence only, he had left before I reached the office. This is particularly one sentence only. So if you see, the principal clause is the main clause. Out of this, the main clause is he had left, isn't it? This is the principal clause. In this principal clause, left, your verb is in past tense. That's why in your subordinate clause also the verb will be in past tense. Okay, before I reached. Reached is a verb and it's in the past tense, reached the office. Okay, so that's your first rule. If the verb in the principal clause is in the past tense, the verb in the subordinate clause also becomes in the will also be in the past tense. That is rule number 1. Okay, but again, okay, one more example. He was dead before the doctor came. He was dead is a principal clause. He was. Why it is known as a principal clause is because principal clause or main clause, because these 3 words, he was dead or he had left, itself is a complete sense giving sentence. Okay, it does not need any support, okay, any other word to make it a complete sense. He had left, you understand that someone or you've been looking for has already left. He was dead. So the sentence itself gives you a complete sense that someone is dead here or someone has left here. So that's why it is known as the main clause or principal clause, because it does not need any supporting word or a sentence more to add up to make it a complete sense giving sentence. Whereas in subordinate clause, it needs a principal clause. Now if you read only before I reached the office or before the doctor came, we don't know what before the doctor came, what is it? So we need something to add up here, then only it gives you a complete sense-giving sentence, isn't it? That's why it is known as a subordinate clause. In every sentence we have principal clause and your subordinate clause. Principal clause is something which does not need any help, okay, to give it a, to make it a complete sense-giving sentence, whereas subordinate clause is something where you need to add up something so that it makes a sense, okay. So he was dead. Here again, was is in your past tense. That's why in subordinate clause also it will be in the past. The verb will be in past tense and your verb is came. Before the doctor came. Came is your past tense again. It's past form, isn't it? So that is the rule number 1. Now again, they are saying that this is rule number 1, but there are some exceptions as well. There are some of the exception means there are some chances where this rule might not be applicable. Okay. Like rule number 1, there are 3 exceptions to this rule. Okay. The principal clause in the past tense may be followed by a present tense in the subordinate clause when it expresses. Now we are saying that past tense, but sometimes there may be chances that principal clause is in the past tense, can be or may be followed by a present tense in the subordinate clause. Okay, when it is expressed. Okay, let's see what kind of expression. Like when you're talking about a universal fact, we know that universal fact is something which we cannot deny, we cannot change, isn't it? So it's a universal truth. So there we always need to use a present tense. So here they are saying that Newton, okay, for an example, for a universal fact we use past and the present or present only. Okay, like Newton discovered that the force of gravity makes apples fall. Now here Newton discovered is your principal clause. Okay, but discovered, as it's in the past tense, that the force of gravity makes apples fall is your subordinate clause, and we use makes. Okay, verb makes, we use makes as a we write make in your present tense. Okay, so this is the exception 1, that in universal fact or universal truth it's not always past only, sometimes it has to be past and present as well, just like this example given here. Galileo proved that the earth moves around the sun. Here again, Galileo proved is in your past tense, but that the earth moves is in your present tense, around the sun. For habitual custom, like some of you have a habit of doing something, okay, it's a habit. I learned that the English ladies wore fashionable clothes. So here again, learnt is in past tense and wear is in your present tense. She said honesty is the best policy. Again, said is in the past tense, but is always the best policy is in your present tense. That's your exception 1. Okay. So for universal truth and for habitual custom. Now exception 2, when do we not follow this rule is when the subordinate clause denotes place, reason or comparison, it may be any tense. So when your sentence is denoting about any place, reason or your comparison, so that time again it may be not just present, it can be in past, present or future tense also in the principal clause. Okay, like he succeeded because he is hardworking. Ram was smart but his brother is smarter. So here we have comparison, isn't it? So we use past and present tense. That's exception number 2. Now let's see rule number 2. That was rule number 1 and we have exception also. Now rule number 2. When the subordinate clause, denotes, rule number 2, if the verb in the principal clause is in the past tense, it may be followed by any tenses, that is, even if there is a past tense in the principal clause, it may be followed by any tense, that is present, past and future. Okay, as required by the sense of the subordinate clause when the subordinate clause is introduced by them. So according to his requirement, we can use any tenses also when you are introducing in a sentence then. Okay, like he liked you better than he likes me. So here you see a slight comparison kind of sentence. Okay, he was liked you better than he liked me. So when you use then in your sentence in rule number 2, so even if it's in the past tense, your principal clause, subordinate clause may be followed by any tenses, that is present, past or future, according to the expressions. Okay, if you have the and then in your sentence. Okay, now rule number 3. If the verb in the principal clause is in the present or future tense, okay, the tense of the verb in the subordinate clause can be in past, present or future depending on the sense of the conveyed by the speaker. So if in the principal clause your verb is in either present or future tense, in the subordinate clause it will be present, past, future. It can be all 3 tenses depending on the sense conveyed by the speaker, how the speaker is conveying, okay, in what sense. So depending on that we will reciprocate. Okay, like present tense, I said he is here. Future tense, he will say I am here. I said he will be here. He will say I shall be here. So these are some of the examples. Now rule number 4. Okay, when the subordinate clause, okay, is introduced by a conjunction. You know what is conjunction, right? So when you are joining sentences, 2 or more sentences, we add using conjunction. Okay, so subordinate clause introduced by a conjunction of purpose, okay, like least or that. Rules are observed. Rules need to be observed. The following rules are to be observed. Like rule number 1, if the verb in the principal clause is in the past tense, the verb in the subordinate clause is expressed by might. Okay, I worked hard that I might win a prize. I had worked hard that I might win a prize. I was working hard that I might win a prize. Okay. Rule number 4, second one, is if the verb in the principal clause is in the present or future tense, the verb in the subordinate clause is expressed by may, present tense, as. Like I worked hard that I may win the prize. I will work hard, I may win the prize. Okay. Now note the change when subordinate clause is introduced by that. Now rule number 5. Now SC is a short form of subordinate clause. That's what I have written here. When the subordinate clause is introduced by as though or as if in a sentence, the present tense is generally used to indicate present time and the past perfect to denote past time, as. He pretends as if he were mad. They laughed as though they were crazy. Okay. Rule number 6, the last one. In conditional clauses, sentences means in some of the condition, when your sentence shows some condition. Okay. So in conditional sentence, the tense of the verb in the PC is your principal clause is future and the verb in the subordinate clause is in present tense. Okay. Like, unless Shyam apologizes, he will be punished. Now I'll send you all these rules, the picture of it, and I want you all to go through once, because just explaining will not make it enough. You have to keep in mind, you have to mug up these rules. Okay, you have to continuously go through it, just like you have rules in mathematics. You have to go through it so that it will be easy for you to understand and then work on the exercises that will be coming further in your further exercise, in your further classes. Okay. Now note, keep that in mind. Apart from this, why we are doing this is that while filling in the blanks in the passage, you should first read through the passage to get the sense of the time involved. Now whenever you are filling in the passage, now ICSE students, we there is a particular exercise, one part, this is a fresh part. So one part where we are filling up the blanks, okay, of a passage. Okay, so to fill up these blanks, you first need to read the entire passage from top to beginning. Even there is blanks in between, you need to go through once and you need to read the passage from top to bottom. Then you can get the correct answer. Okay, first thing is you have to read. Okay, go through the passage to get the sense of the time. And why do we need to go through is to get the sense of the time, to understand the passage is talking about or is in which time period. Okay, whether it's in past tense, whether is it in present tense, or is it in future tense. Okay, so reading the passage also you come to understand whether the passage is in present, past or future tense. Okay, that is whether the time specified is in the present, past or future tense. You would occasionally find a clue. So that will only help you to find your clue in the passage, which would determine the tense of the sentence or passage. Okay, example, he played dash here for a long time now. He spoke dash about this for a long time now. Now in the sentence, in both the sentences above, you will observe that the word now is being used, isn't it? And we know that when you use now, it talks about the present tense, isn't it? Tells us that the timing is in the present tense, while the word again long time is also there, indicates the use of a continuous long time now. That means from last till now, okay, for long time till now, okay, that means that it is in a present continuous tense. Okay, thus we see that the playing and speaking had begun earlier. So he played here, he spoke about. So it gives you a sense that it has begun earlier only. This action has been begun already. So and it's still continuing to the present as it indicated by now. So this indicates the sentence is in the present perfect tense. Okay, and the right form of the verb to be used here would be has been playing. He has been playing here for a long time now, or he has been speaking about this for a long time now. So this should be the correct answer for the blanks that is given as an example. Okay, so this is how you try to do this exercise. This is how we do this exercise or fill up the blanks, okay, for this passage. So first thing is, what is the first thing? Go through the rules that we need to follow for sequence of tenses. Second thing is, you need to read the passage. Once you know the rule, now you have to read the passage that has been given to you by the examiner from top to the bottom. Just don't read the particular sentence where you have a blank and you read till there. No, that will not give you the sense of which tense you have to follow the answer. Okay, we have to write the answer. For that, you have to read the complete passage, top to bottom. Even there is a blank is there, but still you need to read it. That will give you a sense that okay, this passage is in present, past or future tense. You'll know the timing. Then you have to see each and every word. What is the word used? Now, long time back, or this, had. So according to that, we have to frame the answer. The word is already given, now you have to answer it in the changing tense or changing form. Okay, so that is how we do this exercises. Now related to this topic, I'll be giving you some exercises. I hope you have understood. Okay, work on that exercises. Any doubt, let me know, and then we'll have more exercises based on this topic. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.